Hey everyone, Kevin here. I'm here to respond to my own thread today, my 2000s thread. Thank you all who have made videos so far and commented. I really appreciate that. You guys have had some pretty diverse lists. It's been really cool watching the videos and reading your guys' comments. It's definitely something that I was looking forward to, so thanks once again. Let's go ahead and jump into what I'm picking though for my 2000s, but before I do that, I'll show you what I'm playing right now. It's me, Bright Eyes. Now this is the kind of the special, I guess, edition. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it rather than the flat one, and it's pretty cool. Just a single LP. Now this is called The People's Key. Came out this year. I'm not the biggest fan of this record. I really do like the song that's playing right now, Shell Games, but it's quite different from what a normal Bright Eyes album sounds like. Conor Oberst is the frontman of it, the brains of the whole operation, and he's one great songwriter. I've been following him for quite some time now, but this one just didn't really generate that much interest in it. So I'm giving it another spin, seeing where it'll land on my list. But right now, it's not even in my top 30. I do love Conor though. I think he's our Bob Dylan of the modern era. He's such a great songwriter, great lyricist, and his voice isn't that great, but it works for the type of music he does, kind of like Bob Dylan. So some might consider that blasphemy, putting him in the ranks of such a great musician like Dylan, but I think he does deserve to get some recognition in that realm. But anyways, let's jump into what I'm doing for my 2000s. So obviously I'm going to start off with 2000, and you guys have heard me talk about this guy enough, so I'm just going to show you the record. One of my favorite records of all time, in my top 5. This is his first solo album, and the record is called Heartbreaker by Ryan Adams. Best place to start if you're going to get into Ryan Adams' pretty big catalog. It's a pretty diverse catalog, but this has a little country in it and some rock and roll, but all around just great songwriting. And Come Pick Me Up is one of his most popular songs. It's been in movies like Elizabethtown and just all over the place. So that's a great song. My Winding Wheel is a really good song, and Amy. The whole album from top to bottom is really great. So check this out if you haven't already. It's Heartbreaker once again. Funny thing about the title is that supposedly Ryan Adams was pressed for a name for the whole album, and his manager's like, you got to give it to me. So I guess he looked up on his wall and he had a poster of Mariah Carey's Heartbreaker poster on his wall, and he just plucked that name from it and decided to use it for his own. So I guess that's supposedly how Heartbreaker, the album, got its name. So 2001 was kind of a hard year for me. I mean, 2000 I should have gave it to Kid A, but I just have more love for Ryan Adams than I do Kid A, which a lot of people think is crazy. I do love Kid A, so don't get me wrong, but I went ahead and made up for that by dropping the 2001 with Amnesiac. We all know about Radiohead. This is a great album. This is like the sister album of Kid A, if you haven't already known that. But it's got one of my favorite songs on the whole, one of my favorite Radiohead songs of all time, Knives Out. You and Whose Army is one of my all-time favorites as well. So nice little 10-inch. It's got some really cool artwork. It's not as good as Kid A, but I did like it a lot for the year of 2001. Now this is my second favorite album of all time. You guys have heard me talk about this band plenty. You all know about this album, about the struggle they had getting it out. They have a whole documentary about it called I'm Trying to Break Your Heart. I have that. It's phenomenal. So if you're a Wilco fan, check that out. It's really great behind the scenes and the struggle of making this album. Very interesting. So we all know this by now. 2002 goes to Yankee Hotel Foxtrot by Wilco. I love every single song on this from top to bottom. Favorite record of all time is Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen, but this is a close second, very close second. So one of my favorite songs, War on War, Radio Cur. I mean, just from top to bottom, not a song that is not. It's just amazing. I'm speechless. It's so good. We all know that though. Now, 2003 was kind of a hard year for me. There wasn't too many. I wanted to give it to Mars Volta, but I don't have that on vinyl. I have the CD. I couldn't find it, but D. Laws in the Conatorium is 2003. Excuse me for a second. That was weird. I just lost power on my record player, so I had to redo it. But everything's okay. So So sorry about that. But anyways, back to what I was saying. 2003 would probably belong to Mars Volta, Die Laus in the Conditorium. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I do love that album. It kind of shook me at first. I had no idea what I was hearing. The first time I heard it, I was pretty young, and after a couple spins, I ended up falling in love with it and have wanted the vinyl, but it's a little pricey, so I'm going to hold off until hopefully they give a reissue. But it doesn't look like there'll be any luck anytime soon for that. But it does remind me of Christmas a lot, which is, you know, coming up, so it's a great album for this time of year, at least for me. But anyway, so for this purpose of making the video, I went to my second favorite album that year. It brings back a lot of memories from like high school and, you know, girls I dated back then. And this was an extremely popular album, at least in my high school. And that's Ben Gibbard and Dina Tell's Postal Service, Give Up. We all know about this. It's a pretty classic album. A lot of the songs were all over the commercials during that time period, like Such Great Heights. But I really liked Recycled Air and This Place Is a Prison. Kind of helped me out during a time that was rough in high school when I was trying to figure out who I was. So brings back a lot of memories. Postal Service, Give Up. Now we're on 2004. Interpol almost took the prize there, but I mean, how could I pass up this album? Everyone knows about this. It's such a great debut. Arcade Fire's Funeral, concept album, really great, top to bottom. They finally got their dues by winning the Grammy last year. Can't believe they got it with The Suburbs. I love that album, but I was just, I figured someone that the radio favors, like Lady Gaga or Katy Perry, would end up winning the prize. But what a shock it was, and well deserved for Arcade Fire's Funeral there. Great album. Now this album I remember hearing for the first time in a record store, and I remember just picking it up just from hearing it playing in the store. Went home, drove with it at night, and fell in love with it. I felt like I was lifting off in a spaceship into outer space. You heard me talk about this band in my last update. Got their newest album, Hurry Up We're Dreaming, but this is from 2005. That is before the Don Heelses. The cover alone caught my eye, so I originally just saw the cover and I was like, oh, I kind of want to get into this, and I heard it in the store and it just blew me away. I love every single song on this album. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. It's so cinematic, it's so spacey, it's so just eerie at some points. There's some monologues with a girl singing that's like a killer's chasing her, so it's kind of creepy. It's definitely a headphone album, so I plug in my headphones when I'm listening to it on vinyl and just kind of drift off and, you know, pay attention to every little detail that Anthony Gonzalez, the frontman of it, has put into this work. So I think this is M83's masterpiece. That's just in my opinion, though. Best song in it, oh gosh, that's hard. Teen Angst is really good. You know, it's hard to pick, but I'd have to go with Teen Angst as one of my favorites. There you go, M83, Hurry Up We're Dreaming, that's 2005. Now 2006 was kind of a tough year. There wasn't too many great ones, at least in my, from what I considered. But anyways, I went with an artist that I've really loved throughout his career. I even like his side projects with Monsters of Folk and She and Him. But I mean, his solo work is probably the best by far. And this is one of my favorite albums, if not my favorite of his. That's Post-War by M. Ward. Really great, just singer-songwriter. He's got a really distinct, unique voice, and just great. It's a great listen. Poison Cup is a really good song, the opener, To Go Home. I mean, it's just a fun album. It's all over the place, but, you know, it's classic. 2007, we all know about this. This is the second album I'm going to feature from this band. There's so many great releases from this year, but this is the one that really just made my jaw drop. I had to pick it up. You know, they did out of the ordinary thing by releasing it for Pay What You Want, and they, you know, announced it like a week earlier. So we all know this by now. We know the backstory about it. We know that every song is great. I actually saw these guys on this tour when they were promoting it. It was the second night of the entire tour. I was pretty close, so I guess that's really resonated with me, and probably my third favorite album by this band, and we all know who it is. It's Radiohead and Rainbows. Can't go wrong with this album. Once again, top to bottom, flawless album. House of Cards is one that I really remember seeing them live, and the whole crowd was just clapping along to it, and it just really struck me. I was with a couple of my best friends at the time, right before I moved from Florida back to California, so it was like a nice send-off gift. So this brings back a lot of memories, and how could it not? It's Radiohead, you know. They pretty much do no wrong. Even with their weaker album, Kingdom of the Limbs, that came out this year, is still great if you consider it compared to other stuff people release nowadays. So, great album. Now, this next band is a band that I think that will be a timeless act that, you know, we'll look back on like, you know, wow, I'm so glad that I grew up listening to this band, and you know, I was there when they were in their prime, kind of like, you know, if you experienced the Beatles back in the day, like growing up during that time period. I feel like this is the band that people are going to study, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. They'll always be around. Their music is so timeless, so simple, but so, you know, beautiful, and the harmonies are just like Beach Boy-esque. And if you haven't checked them out, you got to start here. You got to start at their debut LP. They had an EP before this, but it started the debut LP, and that's Fleet Foxes. They're self-titled. One hell of a release. It's remarkable how great this is. The singing on it, the songwriting is just so deep and just so rich. It's really amazing. I mean, the artwork is pretty cool. It kind of gives a, you know, insight into what the album sounds like. It's got this Renaissance feel. So, but I'm sure most of you already know about the Fleet Foxes. But if you haven't, check it out. Check out this one. And they came out with an album this year, Helplessness Blues, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard. I think this is superior to that, though. So that's 2008. And my last pick for the decade, this one really wasn't something I liked at first. I kind of had to give it a couple spins. I saw them at Bonnaroo, wasn't blown away. And then after summer ended, you know, got more into fall. I was like, oh, I'll bring it back out. I'll pick it up on vinyl, see if I end up liking it. And still took a little time, but once it clicked, it became in my top 5. I love this album so much, and I went back to their entire catalog. It's not too deep of albums, but you know, I went back and checked out their other stuff, and I saw them live at Coachella, and it was by far my favorite act, the favorite live performance in the entire year. And this was a really buzzed about album, so most of you probably already know about it, but 2009 belongs to Grizzly Bear's Beckonomis. This was recorded in a church, I guess, on an island called Beckonomis, and you can definitely hear the, you know, the sounds of what it would sound like to record in a church. It's very eerie at times, but also very poppy at some parts. 2 Weeks is their single. It's one of the more popular songs, and just a really amazing vocal duo by Ed Dorset and Mike Rosen. So check it out if you haven't. They toured with Radiohead actually on that In Rainbows tour as an opening act. I didn't get to see them. Liars was actually one of the opening acts during that that stop for me, so that was pretty cool to see Liars, but I would have loved to see Grizzly Bear open up for Radiohead. So yeah, this definitely closed the decade for me with one hell of a release. Grizzly Bear is once again Beckonomis. And that's it for now. 2010, I ended up, you know, doesn't really fit into the decade, I guess, but I'm going to go ahead and just say that Beach House, Teen Dream was my favorite album from that year. So it was one hell of a decade for me. It's a decade that I kind of grew up and really discovered music and discovered some acts and began to follow them. So it was fun making this list, and I hope you guys make some more videos, and I really appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.